Before I ask you to sit down, if any of the gentlemen would like to remove their jackets, please feel free to do so. From then on, please be seated. Right, good evening members and officers of the Council and members of the press and public. I welcome you to this meeting of the Council. First, we will go through the fire procedure. If the fire alarm is activated, please vacate the offices via the stairs, either through the security doors to my right or opposite the lifts in the foyer. Please do not use the lifts. Please assemble in Hawley Square on the green. Officers will assist you and advise when it is deemed safe to return to the chamber. The proceedings of the meeting will be recorded and subsequently broadcast on the internet. I would advise that if filming takes place, anyone in attendance in the public areas may have their image captured. I urge anyone filming proceedings to avoid filming members of the public, particularly if there are children present. Does anyone intend to film the meeting? Oh, quite a few do. Right, okay. Any member of the public who objects to the possibility of being filmed may wish to take this opportunity to leave the meeting. Any filming or recording will not be permitted for any item of business where exempt or confidential information is considered following the exclusion of the press and public from the meeting. Would everyone present please ensure that their mobile phones are turned to silent and that they are not used to make or receive phone calls in the chamber while this meeting is in progress. Agenda item 1. Apologies for absence. Apologies were received from the following: Councillors Glenn Coleman-Cook, Councillor Edwards, Councillor Sarah Larkins and Councillor Beverley Martins. Are there any other apologies?
Councillor Rogers.
Right. I move that the minutes of the meeting of the Annual Council held on the 11th of May 2017 be approved and signed as a correct record. Would the leader please second?
Seconded, Madam Chair.
Do members agree? Thank you. Right. Now I've got a very pleasant job to do. Would Councillor Reverend Stuart Piper please make his way to the top table, please? Please will members be upstanding while I present the past chairman's badge.
Thank you very much.
I don't want to knock that all over you, Stuart. It gives me great pleasure to present you with the past chairman's badge, and I'm sure members would join me in thanking you for your work representing the council as chairman over the past 2 years. And it is a pleasure, Stuart. I think you did a really super job.
Madam Chairman, thank you very much. Officers and members,
the press and public as well. It was an honour and a privilege, and I thank you for this recognition. Thank you very much.
Please be seated. Thank you very much. Are there any declarations of interest? Nope. Agenda item number 5. 2 petitions have been received and 2 petitions returned to Council in accordance with Council Procedure Rule number 12. Please note that the Council's constitution permits up to 30 minutes for the consideration of petitions. Excuse me. An e-petition containing 39 valid signatures has been received by the Council. I am pleased to welcome Mr. Coombs to the meeting. Could you please make your way to the top table? He's not here? Oh, right.
Just skip straight to that.
Yeah. In accordance with the Council's petition scheme, the petition will be referred to Cabinet without debate for report to the Council within 3 ordinary meetings. Okay. Agenda item number 5. Petition regarding clean-up Cliftonville West. An e-petition containing 182 valid signatures has been received by the Council. I am pleased to welcome Mrs. Goodison to the meeting. Could you please make your way to the top table? Mrs. Goodison, you have 3 minutes to speak.
As I'm aware that many councillors don't live in the ward of Cliftonville West, could I distribute some photographs which illustrate my 3-minute speech? No. Okay. Thank you. I'm here as a resident of Cliftonville West and also as a representative of A Better Cliftonville, a resident-led community group where litter and fly tipping and its negative effects is top of the agenda at every meeting. Despite ABC forming a waste forum with Thanet District Council, the streets, cliff tops and beaches of Cliftonville remain strewn with litter, blighted by dog fouling and in a general state of neglect, with missing bin lids, inadequate infrastructure and no positive messages being sent to the community around caring for the environment. This neglect has a huge impact on residents, businesses and visitors to the area. Do you think it is acceptable that the people of Cliftonville should live with streets that fall well below DEFRA's lowest grade of cleanliness? Councillors have a duty to ensure that the land under their control is kept clear of litter and refuse. A significant cause of this continual stream of litter is the municipal and private bins left without lids, often for months on end, inadequate bin allocation and collections, especially for HMOs, and street cleaners never actually cleaning the residential streets. We are constantly told in ABC meetings that there are not the funds to carry out bin audits, nor the stock to replace lids, nor the resources to litter pick, weed or clean the streets, but this is not acceptable. Litter and dog fouling contaminate surface water, which runs into the sea, adding to the poor water quality reading at Walpole Bay. Pavement drains are blocked by weeds and detritus, which has built up over months, if not years. Local businesses are left with negative feedback due to the unacceptable state of the area, putting off potential visitors to Cliftonville and bringing morale down. Cliftonville West, according to the most recent Government Index of Multiple Deprivation survey, ranks in the bottom 1% of the most deprived areas in the country. Cliftonville has the greatest population density of any ward in Kent and Medway, with high-density, low-standard housing and high levels of antisocial behaviour. Why are we adding to this? Reports from local enforcement agency Kingdom, Keep Britain Tidy and the Litter Strategy for England state that litter is one of the first signs of social decay. We know that people are more likely to drop litter if the environment is already littered, and people who live in a poor quality environment are more likely to suffer from mental health problems due to anxiety and depression. A clean environment sends a signal that dropping litter is not socially acceptable. TDC constantly point the finger at
Excuse me,
residents.
Mrs Goodison, you need to get to the...
Okay.
You've had your 3 minutes.
Thank you. So, the solutions. Local community groups and individuals regularly litter pick and street clean themselves because the situation has become so intolerable, but this barely scratches the surface. The Litter Strategy for England has 3 clear solutions. Education. The council should display numerous large, highly visible, clear and simple signs instructing people to put rubbish in the bins. Infrastructure.
Mrs Goodison, I'm sorry, you've had your time. I think you need to finish.
I'm very nearly at the end.
Well, can you wind
I can
it up?
really wind it up,
Yeah.
yes. So infrastructure, increase the amount of bins, make sure they're accessible and secure, and enforcement, use powers to enforce fines to send a clear message to the community. We love Cliftonville, we love the vibrant community. We need more help than all the other areas of Thanet because it has been neglected for so long. We ask you, the councillors, to change this and help us make a cleaner, healthier, safer and happier Cliftonville.
Thank you, Mrs Goodison. In accordance with the Council's petition scheme, the petition will be referred to Cabinet without debate for report to the Council within 3 ordinary meetings. Right. Petition regarding access to Hodges Gap. This item is to report back the Council's response to the petition in accordance with the Council's petition scheme. Would members please note the report? Thank you very much. Agenda item 5D, petition regarding 2017 parking charges. Having been considered by the Overview and Scrutiny Panel and in accordance with the Council's petition scheme, the petition will now be referred to the Cabinet. Thank you very much. Oh. Does anybody want to debate this? Councillor Campbell?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, obviously this was debated at the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, and the Overview and Scrutiny Committee recommended that the charges be reverted back to last year's rate, which I'm sure enthused the Cabinet no end. What has happened, I understand, is a wholly new report has now been raised that hasn't been seen by Overview and Scrutiny and will be looked at the Cabinet, an extraordinary Cabinet with one agenda item, on the 18th. This is a sort of voucher scheme that addresses the issue for parking charges for residents, but of course doesn't address the issue for visitors and tourists, who still will have to pay the £4, as this new scheme, I understand, will be self-financing. Now, perhaps the leader could inform me if on the 18th, well, I can't believe it's to be true, but on the 18th, the new scheme is okayed and passed by the Cabinet. Does this nullify the Overview and Scrutiny recommendation that will be determined or decided on the 27th? Thank you.
I do have some part of my leader's report which makes comment on this particular area. You're asking me for a legal opinion, effectively, on the way the two decisions interplay. My understanding is that Cabinet is the decision-making body, and if Cabinet makes a decision on the 18th, then that is a decision that will go forward. I'm sure I will be corrected if that's wrong.
No, that's not right. The overview and scrutiny
No.
recommendation goes to council.
Yeah, yeah, cabinet.
That's what he was
Goes to
asking.
cabinet.
Sorry?
It'll
Goes
go
to
cabinet.
council.
Yeah, cabinet.
And then back to cabinet.
That's it. It goes- It's been to council. It'll go to cabinet. Yeah, that's fine. That's it. That's all right.
Is that it? All right. Thank you very much. Right.
Carry on.
Right. Agenda item number 6. Question from the press and public. One question has been received from a member of the public in accordance with Council Procedure Rule number 13. Please note that only the questioner and respondent are permitted to speak on the question, and that if the questioner is not present at this meeting, their question cannot be put, but will be replied to in writing. Could the questioner please only state the name of the Cabinet member to whom their question is to be put, and read out the exact wording of the question that they submitted to the Council. Agenda item 6A. Question number 1 from a member of the public. Cleanliness of Cliftonville West. Would members please refer to the supplementary agenda number 1? I am pleased to welcome Mrs Goodison back to the meeting. Could you please make your way to the top table? You've got 3 minutes. No, I haven't. All right.
Okay. Following on from the petition submitted regarding the very poor level of cleanliness of the streets and beaches in Cliftonville West, can the Cabinet member responsible answer why no adequate measures have been taken to address this? When will a suitable plan and schedule be put in place?
Thank you, Mrs Goodison. I call upon Councillor Brim to respond.
Thank you, Mrs Chairman. I'm just about to brief out a lot of what we do to the councillors and to the members of A Better Cliftonville. So if you can just wait until those councillors ask me the questions, I can give you your information. Okay.
What?
No, you need to answer.
She needs to answer the question.
To answer the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm intending to answer those issues in question 4 about service delivery with Cliftonville.
Councillor Brim, you need to respond to the question, please.
Okay, right. Cleansing. The litter bins are emptied in Cliftonville West at least 3 to 4 times a day, 7 days a week, compared to 1 or 2 times a day district-wide. 30% of the cleansing team's resources are dedicated to Cliftonville West Ward. Approximately 3,000 properties, which are 50% of total properties, still receive a weekly domestic waste collection. There are currently 830 issues selective licences relating to properties within the Cliftonville West Ward. 40 enforcement notices, 204 breaches of condition notices have been served in respect of dwellings within the ward in Cliftonville West. A large majority have been around inadequate waste storage since April 2016. 2 landlords have been prosecuted who have had properties within the ward for failing to apply for a selective licence since April 2016. We've carried out 51 selective licence inspections since April 2016 in Cliftonville West, which includes providing sufficient and suitable containers for waste. With regards to what you have said, weeds are one of your Kent County Councillors' jobs. That falls within KCC. That doesn't fall within my remit. So weeds in Cliftonville, if you have problems with weeds, you need to be contacting your Kent County Council representatives. Bin lids, we have a guy that is going around replacing bin lids on a regular occasion. He is on to the job. It is a bit like repainting the Forth Bridge, because by the time he's finished doing them, he has to start doing them all over again. So, well, I've just said that actually Cliftonville West does receive, due to the demographics, a more enhanced service than other areas because of that. We're working with, Jean Reynolds is working with the Walpole Bay Bathers Club. She's working on putting extra signage down there, which I think she's doing in about a fortnight's time. That's to enhance the water quality down at the Walpole Bay. I myself am running a personal dog fouling campaign. There's another officer. We've got 3 dog fouling campaigns on the go at the moment. We've got fly tipping campaigns. We tweet about them. We put them on Facebook. We do. Okay, right. So what I suggest you do is, because I've not received, apart from the Julie Della, Councillor Della and Councillor Potts, I have not received any communication from Emma Dawson. I don't think it's contacted me once in 18 months. So what I suggest, the district councillors use the policy of reporting issues, because if they're not using the policy and reporting the issues, what are they doing to... I'm not the councillor for Cliftonville West. I'm expecting the councillors to use the policy whereby they report things to the officers that are responsible and copy their councillors in. But at the moment, that's not happening.
There's too many issues to report every street.
Thank you very much, Councillor Brim. Thank you very much, Mrs Goodison. Can I please ask for courtesy in the public area? While ever a councillor is giving their response, I would expect you courtesy and quiet. Thank you very much.
Is that appropriate, Councillor Dawson? No.
No, there's no debate on these. It's very clear. You can't get... No. You cannot. Sorry. It's very clear.
Yeah.
No, so carry on with it.
No, it's not a debate. No, just...
Councillor Dawson, I'm sorry, I'm going to move on. We have a lot to cover tonight.
Right. You need to deal with that.
If you are not going to respect the council, then I will ask for you to be removed.
Okay, give her a couple of minutes. Stop the meeting. Give her a couple of minutes to leave.
Would you please leave?
Right, carry on.
Carry on, sir.
Right.
Item 7.
Agenda item number 7. Questions from members of the council. 6 questions have been received from members in accordance with Council Procedure Rule number 14. Please note that the time allowed for consideration of questions from members shall not exceed 30 minutes without the leave of the chair. This can only be granted in exceptional circumstances, so I ask members to be succinct and to avoid repetition where possible. I will if you want me to. Agenda item 7A, a question from Question number 1 from a member regarding housing. I call upon Councillor Matterface.
Thank you, Chair. My question is to Councillor Lynn Fairbrass. Thanet District Council recently issued a very worrying report on the severity of the housing situation, long after Labour Council has warned of a crisis in housing. Will Councillor Fairbrass support Labour's call for a scrutiny day where all agencies and elected members can attend and share best practice?
I call upon Councillor Fairbrass to respond.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I thank Councillor Matterface for her question, and I'm pleased to note that Labour members of this council recognise the housing difficulties faced by many residents on low incomes in this district. We have not issued a report recently, but have been very open about the scale of the challenges facing residents and about the work that the council has been doing to support people in housing need. Councillor Matterface may be referring to the article that appeared on the Isle of Thanet News website on the 26th of June. The article gave an accurate account of the scale of housing pressures and of the underlying causes. A combination of the growing shortage of affordable rented homes, increasing private centre rents and welfare benefit reforms are making it increasingly hard for people on low incomes to find the homes they need. We have responded to these pressures by securing new funding for housing and homelessness and setting up new services with our local delivery partners. These new services include the opening of the first Thanet Winter Shelter and the new Aspire project to support rough sleepers. We are investing £28 million into the delivery of 140 new and refurbished affordable rented homes and have secured £400,000 for a new rapid response service to help prevent homelessness for people struggling to pay their rent or keep their tenancies. We are returning more empty homes to use and taking action to improve more private rented sector homes than any other council in Kent. We have successfully piloted a new rogue landlords programme and bid for funding to continue that service. These are fantastic achievements considering the restricted resources available to the council, but more is needed. This year we will be producing a new housing strategy for the district to continue this work and set out our priorities and ambitions. We will involve partner organisations in this work and ensure that members of the Overview and Scrutiny Panel have an opportunity to be involved. Members will know that there is already an agreed process for proposing reviews to the Overview and Scrutiny Panel, which is the appropriate way to put forward suggestions.
Do you have a supplementary question, Councillor Matterface?
Yes, I do, thank you. I understand from Councillor Johnson that the request for the scrutiny day has in fact been turned down, which I find extremely disappointing. I've got one particular question which relates to the 52 social housing units which have planning permission and funding under a Labour administration, and yet to date none has been built. Could you please tell me when those much needed units that you have referred to in your reply to me, when they are in fact going to be built? Thank you.
The matter for the scrutiny day would be to present to the chairman of scrutiny. I'm not able to endorse. So 51 units of affordable accommodation that I'm aware of. Sussex Street, Ramsgate, Brights Place, Chichester Road, Clements Road, Kingston Close and Lancaster Close, Perkins Avenue, Norman Road, Prince Andrew Road, Broadstairs, Princess Anne Road, Broadstairs. We have been out to tender for these as far as I know. The timescales are Sussex Street. The timescale that we are giving is August 2018, Brights Place, August 2018, Chichester Road, May 2018. These are these are targets, basically. Hopefully they'll be within that time. Clements Road, May 2018, Kingston and Lancaster Close, May 2018. Perkins Avenue, November 2017. Norman Road, November 2017.
Prince Andrew Road, November 2017, and Princess Anne Road, November 2017. They are our dates at the moment. Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Matterface. Thank you, Councillor Fairbrust. Agenda item 7B. Question number 2 from a member regarding sweeping and rubbish removal in Margate Central Ward. I call upon Councillor Johnson.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Thank you. It's a question to Councillor Brim, please. Residents and myself in Margate Central constantly have to report the same areas that need sweeping or rubbish removal. When will you walk the whole ward with residents and myself to see for yourself our concerns? Thank you.
I call upon Councillor Brim to respond.
Thank you, Mrs. Chair. Right, thanks, Councillor Johnson, for your question. I'm pleased to confirm that I'm happy to walk with the officers in your wards if you make me aware of the actual names of the streets, and we can take those issues up. As the councillor is aware, we place considerable cleaning and enforcement resources into the Margate Central Ward on a daily and weekly basis. 22 identified high footfall roads in Margate Central have received a weekly mechanical clean as well as additional daily manual cleans. Over the last few months, operational services managers have walked hotspot areas with the councillor. They've also provided the follow additional cleaning activities on top of the normal daily cleaning services in her ward. We've carried out those activities by deep cleaning of Henry's Alley on the High Street in Margate, the Primark shop front cleaning and jet washing, Woolworths frontage cleaning and jet washing, cleaning the alley to the rear of the old cinema on the Margate High Street, additional cleaning of Hawley Square on a number of occasions, and surrounding roads to include St John's Road, Milton and Byron, additional cleaning to Dane Hill, Trinity Square, plus alley rear of the Margate Caves. Areas of flats in King Street have also been targeted, Margate High Street, a number of additional cleans. A further deep clean has been arranged for the 28th of July 2017 around Grotto Hill, which will include bulky waste enforcement and street cleaning activities. In terms of the council priority for a clean and welcoming environment, our enforcement team over the last 12 months have issued 1,750 fixed penalty notices for litter offences, with over 1,400 of them being issued in Margate Central. We will also be installing and upgrading litter bins at the Clock Tower in Margate, the Oval Bandstand to support the farmers market and the users of the bandstand, Palm Bay Shelter alongside the footpath next to the shelter. Basically, this is in response to what I'm saying is that I will quite happily walk your wards, but I will do it with the officers at a time when it's convenient to me, Councillor Johnson, and not to you.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I think that members will draw their own conclusions. The list that's been read out by Councillor Brim are exactly the areas that I report constantly. Yes, we have mechanical sweepers that go along the seafront, but it's the side roads that we constantly have to report. And my question yet again is, which was first given to you several times last year and this year, I don't want you to walk just with the officers. I want you to meet the residents that I have to talk to every day, and I want you to walk the ward with me. It is the first time in the history of this council that a cabinet member has refused to walk a ward with a councillor. I have always found both Conservative and Labour and any other administration would walk. The cabinet member would come out to see what the problem was. You are the first councillor to refuse to do so. It is unacceptable, and it certainly doesn't reflect
Councillor
well on this council.
Johnson, can we bring it to an end, please?
Yes, I'll bring it to a question. Can I have a date when you personally will agree to walk Margate Central Ward with me and actually meet the residents who, again today, talk to me about the problems? I've told them who you are. They do write to you. And may I say, Councillor Dawson, I've seen you cleaning
All right,
in
Councillor
Cliftonville West.
Johnson, that's enough, thank you. Do you want to
My
explain?
supplementary is for the date she's going to walk the ward with me.
Yes, we're well aware of that, Councillor Johnson. Would you like to respond, Councillor Brim?
Yes, Councillor Johnson, if you send me an email, again, highlighting the roads that have issues, I will walk the ward with the officers.
Right.
Sorry, Chairman, she doesn't answer my emails. It's very hard. Is your equipment not working?
Moving on.
Agenda item 7C. 7C, yeah. Question number 3, from a member regarding the Council's street cleaning schedule. Would members please refer to the supplementary agenda number 1 for the remaining questions? I call upon Councillor Ken Gregory.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The question is, could the Cabinet Member for Operational Services please tell me if the District Council's street cleaning schedule for individual areas is available for residents to inspect? And if so, where may they see it?
I call upon Councillor Brim to respond.
Thank you, Chair. Well, can't you just tell there's a by-election coming up? This is currently, Councillor Gregory, being developed. However, basic cleaning round information is on the Council's website. Over the coming weeks, a new map and postcode look-up facility will be added to make it more easy for residents to find out when the cleansing teams will be in their road. Thank you.
Councillor Gregory, do you have a supplementary question?
Surprisingly, yes, Madam Chairman. What I would ask is, if this schedule is going to be published, perhaps it would be a good idea if it were placed with every individual's council tax bill so that they knew when to look out and see if their streets had been swept or not. And by doing that, we actually have the most effective monitoring team in the world, i.e. our residents, the people who pay for the street sweeping.
Would you like to respond to that, Councillor Brim?
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Gregory, what we're trying to do is try and interact with the public a bit more, so we are publishing information on the Thanet District Council website about our street cleansing rotas, and that's something that has not been done by any previous administration. So we're trying to be a bit more creative the way we go forward in communicating with members of the public and informing them when our street cleaners are in their area. Thank you.
Agenda item 7D. Question number 4 from a member regarding education in Thanet. I call upon Councillor Savage.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. I ask this question because I feel it's very topical at the moment. I addressed the question to Councillor Hunter Stunner-Schmertzing. Education is an important part of the corporate plan in attracting businesses searching for a highly skilled workforce. The closure of the university campus in Broadstairs is therefore catastrophic. What plans is the Cabinet Member formulating to counter the impact on the future of so many of our young people? Thank you.
So, Councillor Wells, that's right. I call upon Councillor Wells to respond.
So I'm going to respond to that, Councillor Savage, because I'm the person who's met with the University Vice-Chancellor this week. Okay. Education is indeed a vital component to promote inward investment and job creation. It's important that our schools and colleges work together to drive up standards and provide opportunities that lead to good jobs. And that's increasingly difficult, of course, in an environment where government is cutting back on the funds they actually spend on these areas, but our schools and our colleges do their best to actually work that forward. This Council has already signed a Memorandum of Understanding with East Kent College to ensure that the skills and economic growth agendas run in parallel, and we're proud to support their work, and we're delighted that they've deservedly been rated as outstanding by Ofsted. It would be nice to have moved forward and signed a Memorandum of Understanding with Canterbury Christchurch. However, I don't think it would have been an appropriate thing to do in the current climate, and given what they have done in terms of closing or predicting to close the Canterbury Christchurch University additional campus here in Broadstairs. Many of you will have seen what I said publicly about that, and I met with the University Vice-Chancellor again on Tuesday this week and left him in no doubt about our dismay and our dissatisfaction with that decision. And I do believe that as we move forward, we're going to be talking with their senior management teams about putting some real meat on their promise to continue to assist students in this area and their work within the university sector, and ensure that whatever heritage vestige they're going to leave behind actually does support those disadvantaged students for whom the local campus was such a lifeline.
Councillor Savage, do you have a supplementary question?
I do, Madam Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 7E. Question number 5 from a member regarding street cleaning service standards. I call upon Councillor Dawson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could the Cabinet Member for Operational Services confirm that the service standard for street cleaning for Birchington is the same for Cliftonville West?
I call upon Councillor Brim to respond.
Thank you, Chair. I can confirm to Councillor Dawson that more street cleaning services have been delivered in Cliftonville West in the last 6 months than any other ward in the district. Operational services are also working proactively in the wards. As part of the Waste Forum with ABC, they are working together on the following: all issues on cleansing that are raised in the monthly Waste Forum. At these meetings, residents raise concerns which we respond to either with information, clarification, or we take away actions to try and resolve these issues. You might do well to attend some of those ABC forums. Operational Services are supporting ABC with a lottery bid and are helping them to deliver the project involving a number of types of behaviour change, experiments and resources for the local community, such as storage units, new signage and bins, litter voting bins, wildlife houses and clean-up equipment, amongst other things such as setting up a group of waste champions. Deep cleans so far have been carried out in Athelston Road and the surrounding alleyways. Godwin and Gordon roads have been completed, and there is one planned for Swain, Albion and Harolds Road in September this year in response to ABC requests. Operational Services are replacing all domestic wheel bin lids one road at a time in each ward. We have provided the Walpole Bay Swimmer Group with 2-minute beach clean boards to use for their activities around the coast in the area. We targeted Cliftonville West Ward as part of the 4 pilot areas for our dog fouling campaign. We are organising other clean-up activities in the wards, such as the forthcoming Love Where You Live clean-up with McDonald's on the 26th of July. Operational Services staff have attended many community events such as Cliftonville Games and various others to spread the waste messages and information requests and educate with the children and campaigns such as Wise Up to Waste. Thank you.
Councillor Dawson, do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you. Sarcasm gets you nowhere, Councillor Brim, but I would like to comment on this. Could the Cabinet Member tell me why it has taken just over 2 years of you being in office to fulfil your priority to keep a clean and welcoming environment as stated in your corporate priorities and indeed in your election pledge?
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Dawson, I will tell you what does get you somewhere, and that's when you start acting as ward councillor and actually start following procedure and sending emails.
Sorry, I am not going to tolerate any more sniping in the council chambers.
Do a freedom of information
Please
request.
treat each other with courtesy.
Okay. 81 councillors at Kent County Council and the Tories just voted for a 15% allowance increase, equates to £155,520. You are now the highest Kent County councillors in the whole of the UK. Thanet is the most deprived area.
Please keep to the
the
point.
highest paid councillors in the whole of the UK. With £156,520, we could have employed 7 road sweepers, 3 skate parks, 3 play areas. I suggest now the councillors start acting. What you would be better doing is donating your allowance, your pay rise today, to local good causes.
Councillor Brim, please keep to the point.
No, you've not sent me one email in 18 months.
Councillor Brim. Agenda item 7F. Question number 6 from a member regarding the former Manston Airport site. I call upon Councillor Bayford.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Before I ask the question, if I could just be helpful to Councillor Brim, just to let you know, you don't have
Councillor
to keep...
Bayford, will you please ask your question?
No, it's important, Chair. You don't have to keep painting the Forth Bridge anymore. They've got new paint that lasts forever, apparently, so you don't have to do that. Yeah. The question is, the leader has recently commented favourably on the prospect of a new potential investor looking to pursue a CPO in respect of Manston Airport. Can he explain his enthusiasm for this, given his assertion that the Avia report demonstrates unequivocally that aviation activity is not viable?
I call upon the leader to respond.
Thank you for your question. I have generally expressed a preference for an airport at Manston, and as the Councillor Bevy is well aware, have had several conversations with several interested parties on that subject. It is a matter of fact that the Avia report, commissioned on behalf of this Council in respect to the local plan, states in its conclusions that an airport is not viable during the plan period. It is also factually correct that the Avia report was unable to consider or access or assess River Oaks plans. Factual content does not mean I cannot express a preference, but in the final analysis, whatever happens at that site must offer serious employment and economic opportunity for Thanet residents as a whole.
Councillor Bayford, do you have a supplementary question?
I do, Chair. Yeah, thank you. Given today's news from the Planning Inspector, how does the leader think this should impact on the emerging local plan?
The Planning Inspector published a decision, I think, at about 3:30 this afternoon. I read it on the train back from London. Obviously, we'll have to look carefully at that in the context of whatever else is going on. It is a change of use of 4 buildings decision, and that is only part, obviously, of what goes forward into the local plan. But whatever the local plan implications are, will be dealt with by the local plan working group, of which I believe you are a member.
Thank you. Agenda item number 8, motions on notice. No motions on notice have been received in accordance with Council Procedure Rule number 3. The Leader's report. I call upon the Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd just point out, really, for those listening, that the Leader's report and the way it's constructed in the Constitution starts life on Saturday and is sort of formalised by yesterday. So the decisions like was just referred to that came through today are not likely to be came within it. Okay. I attended the LGA conference in Birmingham last week, where, incidentally, I paid £19 to park my car for 24 hours, and for far fewer beaches and less sun than you experience down here. I also met with anti-corruption campaigner Martin Bell, still a marvellous raconteur, still wearing that famous white suit. He proved a popular and welcome contributor to the conference, unlike, I have to say, Community Secretary Sajid Javid, who in a few short sentences managed to alienate everybody in the room, Labour, Conservative, Independent and everybody else. He claimed a lack of trust from people in local government since the Grenfell fire, which, given the government's lack of action since 2010 and other fires, seems a little harsh, described by a Labour councillor at the time as an exercise in blame shifting, and then asserted, interestingly, that local authorities were not building enough homes and he would be increasing housing numbers through local plan targets in the coming weeks. There was huge frustration with this, and even Conservative members were seething and discussing walking out. He then went home without meeting with us because he had to attend a vote in the House of Commons. Nearer home, we've seen the formal reopening of Dreamland since the last meeting, following a £27 million revamp, new rides, a 15,000 audience concert with the Gorillas, whom my children tell me are very popular, is that right? The trending... Very comfy, okay. Trending across social media throughout London and the South East. These media recently described Margate as one of the best places to live in the country. Few maybe perhaps would disagree, though Cliftonville West might have some views, and there could indeed be comment from Ramsgate, many of whose residents may be rightly more concerned with the safety and maintenance of the Royal Harbour. We inherited a maintenance backlog for the flap gates that keep Ramsgate's Royal Harbour going, and have, obviously, as you'll see on these papers for tonight, looking at investing £750,000 or so to keep it functioning. This is in addition to the maintenance backlog preventing ships coming back to Ramsgate Port, in addition to the infamous selling of the freehold of Ramsgate Seafront in the teeth of local opposition by a Margate councillor. It would perhaps be fair to say that under Labour, that Ramsgate versus Margate divide existed. Under UKIP, we are at least trying to address it, albeit in a gradual manner. A further issue which has attracted attention is the price of seasonal car parking in a small number of our many car parks. This has been scrutiny reviewed, as Councillor Campbell reminded us a little earlier on, which reports back to full council under the Constitution prior to Cabinet who actually hold the power of decision. This came from a petition based upon the first few weeks of the new charges showing a dip in parking income, a dip that we discover is commonplace amongst all Kent councils who increase charges in April and May. It has always been our intention to introduce dual fee parking, where residents can, if possible, be encouraged to further use our high streets and local assets through lower parking charges than those that tourists and visitors may pay. We have been able to achieve this as the investment requires quite expensive ANPR, automatic number plate recognition technology, and this proved beyond the financial investment capability of a council left weakened financially by decisions of previous administrations. However, with a little creative thinking, we can use these car parks to test the principle of dual fees, which we found to be popular with residents on the doorstep. And for those who thought that the car park income reduction would be a permanent feature, we saw an increase in parking income from the seasonal car parks, those seasonal car parks alone, from 51,000 in June 2016 to 91,000 in June 2017. The dip would appear to be at an end. The proposed changes and charges bring big discounts to residents, and they'll be laid before Cabinet, as discussed earlier, next week. Recent weeks have also seen consultation undertaken by River Oaks Strategic Partners regarding their putative DCO. RSP is obliged to consult with Cannock Council as the host authority for any DCO application, and the Council welcomes this engagement. DCOs comes under the Planning Act 2008 and are executive function, which means legal authority for these matters rests with the executive, not full council, which is why RSP are being asked to consult with the Cabinet and senior council officers. Indeed, it would be unlawful for full council to deal with this matter, since under the Local Government Act 2000, any function which is the responsibility of an executive of a local authority may not be discharged by the full council. Dover District Council, interestingly enough, when dealing with DCOs in relation to their own functions, but actually delegate them to a senior officer in order to enable swift responses and not involving politicians through those decisions at all. Other authorities can deal differently because they are not the host authority. I shall report back to future council on progress in matters relating to the Manston Airport site, even perhaps this afternoon's news. The local plan continues to progress, slowly, given it should have been in place in 2011. It does give some protection from developer incursion onto unallocated sites, as right now, with no local plan in place, there is limited protection for any green space across our island. It should also be noted that the local plan debate seems to have become a little stuck in a straitjacket of housing versus airport, which is a pretence. We will still be required to allocate sites for housing under the government systems, whether the airport site is mixed use or aviation use. If the airport site is returned to aviation-only use, then alternative sites will have to be found once again for the houses currently offered for that site. Now, the truth is, when developers touted possible sites to us in the last cycle and process, it was around Birchington, Westgate and the villages that they were most interested and most enthusiastic. In addition, if River Oaks' predicted employment figures are accurate, then further housing must be added still, according to the formula. If jobs spread more widely across East Kent and the South East, then other councils may yet have to increase their housing numbers as well. Plus, as stated earlier, Community Secretary, Conservative Sajid Javid, Communities Minister, is telling us yet more houses are likely to be added to government demands. These are not council requirements or calculations, but Conservative government calculations to which we are required to adhere in producing our local plan. We have suffered several traveller incursions in recent weeks, some on private land, some on public land and some threatening in manner. The current local plan has no permanent traveller site in the district, and I should add that the recent planning application regarding a small site is nothing to do with the council and must go through the planning system for proper decision. It was with real sadness that I heard of the decision of Canterbury Christ Church University regarding the future of the Broadstairs campus. Legislation demands we consider the equality impacts of any intended change, and this decision would seem to impact those who can least afford a university education. The limited impact on those from middle-class backgrounds, whose judgment on their university years is about social as well as educational experience, contrasts sharply with the strong impact upon those whose decision to attend university may have been marginal, those whose parents worry about debt, single parents who value the role of a local campus and library closer to home, those whose studies are squeezed between working long hours in care homes and supermarkets to make ends meet. That said, the university alone is not to blame. The level of student fees now levied as a lifelong cost against students, casting a university education as a consumer good, brings with it a different expectation of university life. The university sector have embraced tuition fees, and they have ensured that suffer far less as a sector than other publicly funded bodies in the years of austerity, and the plethora of shiny new buildings in university towns is testament to that. In truth, it would seem to have simply increased the gap between richer university towns and others. Such is the legacy, and it's often forgotten, of Labour's introduction of tuition fees and Tory manipulation of their size and cost. I have been in London today presenting the Council's contribution to a conference on tackling rogue landlords. Alongside officers Bob Porter and Richard Hopkins, we explained the positive impacts of selective licensing and how additional powers have contributed to our control of the worst activities of rogue landlords. Councillors and public will also wish to know that following the Grenfell Tower fire, we have checked for our buildings and those run by East Kent Housing on our behalf to ensure that residents are indeed as safe as possible. There is more. The difficulties of social care for an ageing population, underfunded nationally, but particularly here in Conservative Kent, where fee rates for care homes are amongst the lowest in the country. Achieving preference for school places, where the failure of Conservative-run Kent County Council to properly coordinate admissions policies as required by law, has borne particularly heavily this year on the children in Minster. And a Conservative government who have abolished the rate support grant for local government, promising full retention of business rates, but within the Queen's speech there is no finance bill to make this happen, putting further downward pressure on local authorities' stretched budgets. Whatever is promised elsewhere, whatever is talked about elsewhere, an early end to austerity looks very unlikely in the context of local government. I commend this report to the Council and its concerns and look forward to comment from other leaders.
Thank you, Councillor Wells. I call upon Councillor Bayford to comment on or ask questions in relation to the Leader's report.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Leader, for your report, which as usual was big on self-congratulation and full of side swipes at other political parties. Firstly, I welcome the good news that Dreamland's reopening was a great success. I'm sure we're all behind that and may that long continue. It's also good to hear that our housing stock appears to be free of the fire hazards which led to the terrible Grenfell Tower disaster. As far as engagement with River Oak is concerned, I don't think anyone is contesting that full council should deal with DCO rather than Cabinet. What is in dispute, though, is whether RSP should have the opportunity to present their evidence with regard to the potential of a revived Manston Airport to full council, who will be responsible for approving the local plan. What I find perhaps more interesting are a couple of things that you've left out of your report that have happened since you last reported to us. There's been 2 elections since you last reported, and I believe that they both demonstrate clearly that both nationally and locally UKIP have become irrelevant. In the general election, Councillor Piper polled just 6% of the vote, although this is a good result by UKIP standards, as 337 of their candidates lost their deposits. At the county elections, UKIP lost every seat it held. But perhaps the most telling statistic, Leader, was your own result. Standing in an area that you've represented for years, you took just 13% of the vote. 87% of those who voted didn't want you, which is hardly a ringing endorsement of your leadership of this council. You refer to the local plan being in a housing versus airport straitjacket, but I don't think that's the case. The issue is that Manston is designated for aviation use in the current local plan. And you've contended that an airport isn't viable and the site should be used for housing. Many people believe that the airport is viable and that the DCO process in the background will demonstrate this. And as a result, many feel that the current designation should remain. And further, as a member of the Cabinet Advisory Group, considering the emerging local plan, I can assure members that there were plenty of potential sites to meet our housing target without using the airport. What really surprised me was to hear you suggest that a successful airport was a bad thing, as the extra jobs provided would only lead to more houses being needed. That's a totally shocking assertion coming from the leader of a district blighted for so many years by absolutely terrible, above-average levels of unemployment. For that thought alone, Councillor Wells, you should listen to your electorate and consider your position. Thank you.
Call upon the leader to respond.
Thank you. I just love it when you say to me, you know, I really shouldn't spend too much time carping about other people and then proceed to carp for 85% of your own time. You know, thank you for that. I didn't realise I was that important, but there you are. I could spend several minutes correcting your assertions, but you know, I don't think you're probably listening, so we'll leave it at that.
I call upon Councillor Matterface to comment on or ask questions in relation to the leader's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I unfortunately didn't get the expanded version. I just got 10 topics and I've only actually seen the script this evening, so I've had to hastily go through it, make a few points. The first point, they're not actually in order, so I do apologise, it's as they came to me. The land for the Thanet campus, I understand, was donated to Christchurch by Thanet District Council. So could I ask, are there any covenants on the land that would restrict its use to education? My second point was, I understand Invest Thanet, the chair of Invest Thanet has resigned, and bearing in mind the importance of Invest Thanet in attracting inward investment, could I ask when a new chair will be appointed and also when the committee will be reconvened, because I think they might have a role to play in the further use of the Thanet campus. You're mentioning permits, parking permits for residents. It would be interesting to know, will these be by a badge, or will they be the paper permits where you have to scratch how much time you're going to be parked, and where will they be available? Because it could be people marching up and down Broadstairs High Street, Ramsgate High Street, or any other high street looking for somewhere selling the permits. With regard to the parking costs, I know from people who've contacted me, many businesses in Thanet, particularly in Broadstairs and in Ramsgate, have told me that their businesses are suffering due to the higher parking charges. I suspect part of that problem is the perception that all the parking charges have escalated, when in actual fact it is, as we know, it's seasonal car parks. You mentioned selective licensing. I would like to ask when we can see that rolled out across Thanet, because we know there are properties that could benefit from that. You mentioned high street parking in passing without going into great detail. I'd just like to toss into the mix here a well-known court case that it might be worth taking on board if you're thinking about whacking up parking charges on the high street. That is Atfield and Others versus the London Borough of Barnet. It might be as well to bear that in mind when you're looking at high street charges. Thank you.
I call upon the leader to respond.
Okay, thank you for that. And I did apologise before because everybody else seemed to get a report, and I have no explanations for what happened there. So I will simply state your points, and if any occur to you afterwards, please do get in touch. As I stand here tonight, I can't tell you whether that land has covenants on it or not in the donation. I will check and reply to you in writing. Yes, we are going to be looking for a new chair of Invest Thanet, and it may well have a vital role to play in what we need to do as we move forward, and I hope that Canterbury Christchurch are going to be part of that process rather than actually isolate themselves off into Canterbury. Thirdly, permits for residents, I understand it, they are stick and peel rather like the current ones. Think about the description, right? Yeah, stick and peel, and they will be available online, by post, in the gateways, and we will be ensuring before they are made available, assuming the Cabinet approves this on Tuesday, so that it's ready to go for the main holiday season at the end of July onwards. And to be able to park for £2.50 for the day in those 5 car parks, which is what we're talking about, well, that might be important to residents. Yes, there is the perception that's grown up. This requires to all car parks, which doesn't. It's just the seasonal ones. And if you look at Broadstairs, for example, the main car parks down near the seafront are the seasonal car parks, but for a few minutes walk up by the station, you can actually park for the same old fee you park through all year long. Selective licensing, interesting. I've been to this conference in London on rogue landlords today, and it is quite interesting. We were comparing, Bob Porter and I was sat and comparing what we've been able to do as a relatively small district council down here in our corner of Kent, with Bristol City Council, who are an enormously bigger authority and have been running something similar and do not seem to have achieved half as much on 3 or 4 times the budgets we've done before. And one of the reasons why is that actually we have actually focused on a particular area and made changes in that area, which, as we've heard in other descriptions tonight, is the area that seems most in need of help. We did look at the time of renewing the selective licensing at Eastcliff Ward in Ramsgate, but it didn't actually come up with the right statistics to justify actually moving the scheme over there. But we have moved the use of the Margate Task Force over to be part of what goes on there, so that we can assist where we can, short of selective licensing. And finally, I am aware of that judgment. I am aware of the difference between the income of on and off-street parking, and we will bear it in mind. Thank you.
I call upon Councillor Grove to comment on or ask questions in relation to the Leader's report.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairman. There's really nothing to add, because the question that I was going to ask was about the permit parking and has been covered by the Leader in the last question. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grove. Agenda item 10, report of the Chairman of the Overview and Scrutiny Panel. I call upon Councillor David Saunders to present his report.
Thank you, Chairman. Members, I'll keep it brief. Since my annual report on the 22nd of March, the Overview and Scrutiny Panel has met on 2 occasions, being 25th of April and the 23rd of May. In addition to the Overview and Scrutiny Panel meetings, the Corporate Performance Review Working Party met on the 27th of June, whilst the Community Safety Partnership Working Party are scheduled to meet on the 20th of July, and the Dreamland Working Party on the 31st of July. Can you note that in the report, which is fully comprehensive for this evening, can you please look at 4.2, where the date of the meeting should be the 15th of August, not the 18th of August. And also, members, can I just refer to the following agenda item 11, which covers the continuation of the public speaking at committee meetings trial, which we've been working on. Take-up has been disappointing, but it's still there. And in the spirit of openness and transparency, I trust that members will support the proposal when we get on to the next agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Saunders. Agenda item 11. Oh, sorry, Councillor Johnson.
Sorry, Chair, I have a question for Councillor Saunders. I'm always pleased. He's very courteous to me when I contact him, but I did actually ask other people within the Council in February 2016 that we must look at something to help the homeless, people with mental health problems and others. And then when we had a scrutiny training day, I was delighted that we were told we could have a scrutiny inquiry day. So I asked then, probably about June of last year, could we do this? And I was told, let's wait and see what happens with the winter shelters, which didn't reach all of the people that I know in my ward that desperately need support at night. They were still sleeping rough. So it continued, and working with a lot of organisations and agencies in Thanet over many years, I've been asked about more joined up working. And I know the officers work very hard here. I'm not in any way criticising. But the reason I asked for a scrutiny inquiry day, as recommended on our training day, was that all agencies would be in one room here on the same day, where they could talk privately to each other about the failures they think they see, that they tell us as councillors, but they don't seem to get across to people within the council. I asked for that inquiry day. I filled in the form, which actually is a bit ambiguous because it asks you the same question a couple of times and you have to kind of answer it. The answer I got really was, and thank you, officer, but you do your best, scrutiny of the proposed topic is unlikely to result in improvements for local people. Well, scrutiny of the issues that I raised would certainly improve the issues for local people, all of them. And I'm talking right across the board, whether they're homeless, whether they're rough sleepers, mental health difficulties. And I'm very, very disappointed that having waited well over a year, I still didn't get that inquiry day that I asked for. The Labour group are now thinking of having a seminar of our
Councillor
own.
Johnson, could you please get to the point?
The point is very clear. I've been refused to have a scrutiny inquiry day, which we were told on our training day that we should have. The point is very clear to me. There are desperate people within walking distance of this council who wanted me to do this, and I've been turned down.
Councillor Saunders, would you like to respond to that?
Yes, certainly Councillor Johnson's absolutely right. She filled in the application form which goes through Democratic Services. Unfortunately, it's not within my gift to assemble that meeting in the way that the form proposed. I don't have the authority to summon all councillors to a meeting, and indeed I don't have the authority to summon the agencies. Specifically, I went back and asked for questions, and you've raised one question in your response, which had we seen that on the form, and that was to do with the success of the winter shelter, then we could have assembled a scrutiny committee around that question. But really, we need specific questions. We need to understand the objectives of the day. And unfortunately, as I said right at the start, it's not within my gift as chairman to allow that to happen without it going through Democratic Services and all of the aspects in respect of the scrutiny role within this council to be looked at. Sorry.
Thank you, Councillor Saunders. Councillor Campbell, did you have a question?
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. It's to do with the poor response, as Councillor Saunders has mentioned, to public speaking over a scrutiny panel. I believe this is because it's probably too prescriptive. I think the members of the public have to give certain days' notice prior to being able to speak. My suggestion at overview scrutiny, and I don't know if this has been taken on board, this is a question to Councillor Saunders, was that where there are no residents who've gone through that prescriptive process, if there are members present at the overview and scrutiny panel who on the night would wish to say speak on a particular topic for a given period of time, and obviously very limited and very rigorously monitored by the chair, they should be allowed to do so. I just wondered if that's now included in the public speaking protocol for overview and scrutiny, or we're still looking at the prescriptive method, which seems, as the chair said, is being less than successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. I think you will see that this refers to the next item, agenda item 11, public speaking at overview and scrutiny panel meetings. Do you want to respond, Councillor Saunders?
I do indeed. Councillor Campbell's a very worthy member of my panel, and he will know that I can be very generous when it comes to my position, and I'm more than happy, and I do have the gift of allowing exactly what Councillor Campbell has asked for, as long as the approach is made before the meeting, and as long as it's a prepared question and it complies with the 3-minute rule. Yes, if it's suitable and it makes sense and it adheres to the agenda, then I'm happy to take that on board. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Saunders. Agenda item 11, public speaking at overview and scrutiny panel meetings. No, we haven't. No. I move that Council adopts the draft public participation scheme as outlined in Annex 1 of the report and amends the Council's constitution as outlined at Annex 2 of the report. Would the leader please second?
Seconded, Madam Chairman, with the Chair of Scrutiny's blessing.
Do members agree? Thank you. Sorry.
Madam Chairman, I would have liked to say something on that item, but unfortunately couldn't. So I don't know whether you allow it or not.
Yes, Councillor Taylor-Smith.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. I would just like to say that really I'm very much in favour of public speaking at any council meeting that is able to
invite members of the public in. And I do think, to show that TDC is open and outward-looking, it is very important. I know we've had a poor take-up to date, but I do think it's important that we have opportunities for residents to actually contribute by asking questions and sharing their views with us. I don't think this should just be for overview and scrutiny, actually. I would like to encourage members to think of this perhaps at Cabinet meetings. Certainly planning you can speak at the moment, as we know, and I do hope that this pilot scheme has already been voted on, will actually be endorsed, and the Constitution will be amended to reflect this. Thank you, and I'm sorry I didn't have a chance to speak before the vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor-Smith. Agenda item 12. Amendment to the Pay Policy Statement 2017-18. I move that Council approves the amended Pay Policy Statement for the 2017-18 as set out in Annex 1 of the report, after which it will be published. Would the Leader please second?
Seconded, Madam Chairman.
Do members... Oh, who's that? Councillor Gregory. I must get my glasses changed.
Thank you, Chair. I've just got a query on some of the amended wording in here. We had the non-statutory chief officer, Director of Shared Services appointments. What it said previously was that salary on appointment will be approved by the General Purposes Committee. Down in 4.15 it says this will be made by a decision be made by the General Purposes Committee. What we have now is an appointment panel comprised of members. Now, if that's meant to be just exactly as it says, it could be 1 or 2 members of that committee. And I'd like to know really why we're changing that from the actual committee of about, 6, 8 members, something like that, to just 1 or 2, and also how we would select those 1 or 2. Thank you, Chair.
I understand that's current practice. It's not necessarily all the members of the General Purposes Committee. In practice, it can be a smaller number of those members. So that's why the change is being proposed, because that reflects current practice, as I understood it.
I think the point that's being made is when you have run a recruitment process, it's highly unusual to have 8 people actually participating in an interview process. So this concept is quite common in the sense that a selection of people from the General Purposes Committee form an interview panel. I think that's generally the purpose of that reference, as I understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can we know then how we would select those members? I mean, is it just going to be, officers' choice or volunteers or what?
No, the General Purposes Committee itself would decide which of its members would form that selection panel. So they decide.
Okay, are we all agreed? Right. Would the Leader please... Oh. Do the members agree?
Can I just say that I absolutely agree with the answer. But the trouble is, the wording doesn't reflect the answer. And we changed the wording so that it didn't reflect the answer to go back to the answer we started with. And so, because actually the General Purposes Committee selected a small subcommittee to do it, which would be perfectly normal practice. We now say members. If we mean the General Purpose Committee to select a small group to do it, then I think the wording should reflect that, don't you?
I'll amend it to clarify so it meets that. Yeah.
Subject to that, any amendments? Do members agree? Right, thank you. Right. Agenda item 13. Changes to committees, panels and boards, 2017-18. Would members please refer to supplementary agenda number 1? Proportionality. I call upon the Leader to make a proposal in respect of the options as outlined in the report.
I'd like to propose the option outlined in the report, because I believe there is only one. But
Right.
okay.
Option 1. Is there a seconder?
Councillor Bayford.
Councillor. Does any member wish to propose an alternative option? No. Right. Do members... Oh, Councillor Partington?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I think I'm missing some... Oh, sorry, beg your pardon. Excuse me. I might be missing something, but I can't find that on the agenda.
It's in the supplementary agenda pack. It's in the main agenda. Oh, it's in the main agenda pack. Yeah.
You definitely got it.
Do members agree? All right, thank you. All right. So we don't need that, do we? Yeah. Right. From that, right. Nomination of members to serve on committees.
No, you haven't. Yeah, keep on reading. Keep on reading.
Right. Group leaders should take this opportunity to advise of any change to their nominations to committees, panels and board for the remainder of 2017 and 18. I call upon the leader.
I'd like to propose changes as indicated in the report, which I believe are there.
The names.
Oh, the names are? OK. Formerly Councillor J. Jones, now Councillor Rozeki on planning. Planning subs... Oh, that's yours, Jenny, sorry. Standards Committee, formerly Councillor J. Jones, now Councillor Stuart Piper. Constitutional Review, formerly Councillor J. Jones, now Councillor Rozeki. Overview and Scrutiny, formerly Councillor J. Jones, now Councillor Stuart Piper. Governance and Audit is currently still a gap, as is Corporate Performance Working Party, Local Plan Working Party, Councillor J. Jones, formerly and now Councillor Piper.
Thank you. I call upon Councillor Bayford.
I'm not sure why you're calling me,
Oh,
Chair.
sorry.
If you can let me know, I mean, I can sing you a song, do a little dance. I mean, it's up to you, really.
Councillor Matterface, have you got any alterations?
Yes, I have. There's planning sub, taking myself off, and Councillor Campbell will be the reserve for the planning committee. Thank you.
No, right, okay. Right, thank you very much. Hmm? Can we elect a vice chairman of the planning committee, please?
I'd like to propose Councillor Jeremy Fairbrass, please.
I'll second that.
Seconded. Are there any further nominations? No. No. Any more? Right. As there are no further candidates, I declare that Councillor Jeremy Fairbrass has been elected Vice Chairman of the Planning Committee for the remainder of 2017-18. Agenda item 14, report to the Council, Ramsgate Harbour, Inner Basin Dockgate and Lifting Bridge, proposed refurbishment works. The purpose of this item is only to inform Council that this individual Cabinet member decision was treated as urgent in accordance with paragraph 4 of the Budget and Policy Framework Procedure Rules and was exempt from calling in accordance with the Overview and Scrutiny Procedure Rules. Whilst members can debate the decision-making process, the substantive decision cannot be debated. Would members please... Oh, Councillor Gregory.
Not a question on the decision. I learnt my lesson last time, Chairman, thank you. But just on the actual report, which is for information, and I think if there's a bit of information missing, which would be useful to us, I think it's worth bringing it up. Corporate implications says that the 750,000 is coming from capital receipts reserve. Now, when we debated the capital programme earlier on in the year, it was short of funds, and we were told this was going to come from the capital receipts reserve when the money came into it. Can we know that this decision won't have any impact on the capital programme and that there is plenty of money coming into the capital reserves to cover all of these eventualities now? Thank you, Chair.
I think, in the words of Arcala, we will do our best.
Yeah, Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yes, along the same lines as Councillor Gregory, £750,000 investment in Ramsgate Harbour is most welcome. Can you inform me as to whether or not this £750,000 capital spend is being used from the receipt of the sale of the freehold of Pleasure Armour?
As Councillor Campbell knows, that item is held separately for the moment. Should we find ourselves in the difficulties that Councillor Gregory outlined, we may have to temporarily borrow from that and repay it, but it will still be there by the time we get to the end of the process.
Would members please note the report? Right. Thank you, and that concludes the business for this meeting of the Council.